Future. Excelente. Welcome everyone to your Future Leaders Today call number 70. Definitely call number 70 because we're super on it now. We know where we're at with things. So I want to say a really big hello and welcome to all of our familiar faces, a couple of new people as well that have joined us this week. Thank you very much, guys, for showing up, seeing what it's about. I hope that you leave this call with plenty of information. So myself and Richard, who's to my left, no idea where he's on your screen, but we run Future Leaders because we truly believe that, we truly believe in sovereign finance. We believe that money has a huge hold and a huge grip on a lot that happens within society, and crypto is or blockchain is really the best opportunity we've seen in a long time to level the playing field a little bit more, to allow people to have a little bit more access to things a bit more fairer, and that it's one of the greatest transferences of wealth we've ever seen. So as blockchain grows more and more and more, as it has a greater use of case, as it proves itself more, and from that new conversations come out, we create Future Leaders as a bridge, as a space to hold a safe conversation with clear, good sense-making dialogue, not through finger pointing or anything like that, and to help people transition from A to B. And it's not just about crypto, but we use crypto as a golden thread in the middle of it, but it really is about sovereign finance. How do you manage what you've got? How do you look after what you've got? And that spills out into sovereign emotions, sovereign human beingness, all of these other things. But money plays such a huge part in all of our lives that we forget it's as good a place as any to be in. Now, for those that have never joined us before, my name is Daniel. Richard's somewhere else on the screen. You can keep your mics on, you can keep your cameras on, all these sorts of things. All we ask is if you are keeping your mics on, just be aware of your background noise. If it gets a bit too loud, I will mute it. At any point, this is an open, free flow conversation. If you have more that you want to share, different views, anything like that, you can click the little raise your hand button. You can type in the chat, you can wave on a screen. I try to keep the cameras on all the time now so I can see you waving, but if I don't, and you see someone else waving, please bring it to my attention. I have had a few times in the past where, unfortunately, Andy's gone for 20 minutes with their arm in the air waving. So I try to not make sure that happens anymore. So for the new people on the call, what have we got here? We've got Paul, we've got Anna, I think you're new, Anna, and Maria. We normally just give you guys like 30 to 60 seconds, just for me and Richard and then other people on the call to understand where you're at on your crypto journey. It's very arbitrary, there's no scale to really go, and it's self-imposed. But it just gives us a bit of an idea. Like, are you literally learning how to spell crypto? Are you an OG and you've been here for 5 years? Somewhere in between that. So I'm going to go in the order of Paul, Anna, and Maria. This is your 10-second warning call. I'm going to come to you in a minute. And at the same time, what I would love to understand, although we're here to talk primarily about passive income strategies and different ways to earn within crypto, I'd love to know what's the one thing that's stopping you take the next step on your crypto journey, just so we can see if we can weave that in throughout the call. So, and then over to Paul, give us a bit of a lowdown, sir.
Hi everybody, hope you're all really well. So I joined the crypto space a couple of years ago and timed it to absolute perfection. So I bought my first assets, and the next day they all halved in value, and that was very exciting, I have to say. So
join the club.
My allocation is part of a much broader portfolio with all kinds of different assets, reasonably well diversified. So I own various crypto assets, and I also own some of the infrastructure as well. Yeah, I've got no complaints. Like everything, it's obviously been a ride, but I've got no complaints. It's the best performing asset in the portfolio by a million miles. It's the fastest horse in the race.
Absolutely. And so what's your next thing in crypto you'd love to improve on or get to or anything like that?
Specifically this conversation, so it's getting yield on crypto, basically. Yeah, that's the next step, really.
Making it work harder.
Yeah, exactly.
Super. All right, Paul. Thank you very much for joining. Really appreciate that. Going to come over to Anna Kingsley.
Hi there. Yeah, I haven't really got much to add really. Just that I'm at the beginning of the crypto journey. My partner and other friends talk about it a lot and have all sort of been investing for a while. And I guess I just kind of want to learn more really. So I haven't started investing yet. I just want to find out more about it at this stage. So I'm very late to the party, but looking forward to finding out more really.
If it makes you feel any better, Anna, everyone thinks you're late to the party. And to not cover old ground, you're so early, you can't even comprehend it at this stage. So don't worry about being late. This ship isn't even finished built. It's definitely not. And as Paul just said a minute ago there, the prices of today are probably still less than what Paul paid at some point. So like, even if you're late time-wise, price-wise, this is a still all hot buys everywhere. So don't worry too much about it. This call then, there might be tons of stuff talked about that is just really new. But I always say crypto's like a coffee percolator, just, you know, drip after drip after drip, driving through a city. Eventually all the roads start to link up. If there are any bits that we keep saying the same word, or something you're like, hey, could you just explain that 5 levels lower, easier, then just literally just message in the chat, and we can do that as well. Okay.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
Duper. All right, coming over to Maria. I love the Maria again. Oh, let me unmute you. You're muted, my dear.
Can you hear me? Yeah, yes. I think I'm there. Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Well, hello everyone. Yes, same. I'm pretty new to this. I just literally started in January. I bought a few cryptos. Suddenly it was 25% up or something within a few days. It was all very exciting. Then I looked again, then they were half. So that was totally not very clever the way I was doing it. So what I wanted to do is just start learning more about it, really dedicate more time and maybe more money as I start doing this more wisely. And yeah, just to know about more a bit and really get really deep into this, because it's really interesting and I think it's a great investment opportunity, totally. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you very much.
Just to learn a bit more as well.
So yeah, so you're looking at just rounding the edges off a bit more, learning more so you can make more informed decisions, yeah? Okay, that is cool.
Exactly, yes. Yeah.
I'm gonna check one thing. That's from stock shares gold. Okay, cool. So it's worth sharing. It's worth sharing. Like in fact, no, before I do that, I will. So we've semi-avoided this topic for a while on Future Leaders, purely because this is the topic that has the most dodginess in it. I mean, crypto is an unregulated space, and I'm generally pro-regulation. We needed it. It is useful for safeguarding, but too much regulation stifles things. So it's this fine balance. And historically, whatever country you're from, the ruling regulatory body, the FCA, FSCS, normally oversteps its mark a little bit, or governments push too hard. So that's why, like, crypto's enjoyed a space of non-regulation, which has just made it explode. But then within that, you just have a lot of charlatans, bad things, and mishaps and all sorts of things. So with Future Leaders being what it was, which is helping people to kind of transition and move, talking about passive income strategies is not an entry-level conversation, because there's a lot that needs to be covered to make sure that it's safe. And we really try and make sure people don't just promote their coins and their tokens, because there's literally 10,000 out there. And so many of them are don't have the best interest of the people at heart. So I caveat this whole call with that. And there'll be many times that I'm sure myself and Richard will put brakes on and might be a bit political in answers, and we still want to deliver things and give you things to think about. But I really want to make sure that wrapped around all of this is understanding that we're going to talk about this tiny little dot here. And when you go out and you look at things, it's huge and they're all shiny and they're all great. They'll all tell you all the buzzwords in the world. But but it does just need delicacy. And that's why we've been delicate. That's why we've been not wanting to do it for a while, because we didn't think it was for the best of the community. But then everyone really wants to talk about it. So we thought, well, it's better to talk about it and you have more informed decisions than avoid talking about it and people go out there and make silly ones. So before we fully go into it, the couple of people that have been on the calls before, I just want to check if there's anything other than the discussion of passive income strategies that you specifically would love to have 5 minutes on, a question you want to throw into the mix, anything like that. If there is, raise your hand just so I can see. Oh, good. All right, cool. Okay, that is fine then, no worries. So without further ado then, just check this. Yep, fantastic. Then we'll get cracking into it. Okay, then we've got Anna and Maria as our two newbies of news. So we're going to use you two girls, if that's okay, every now and again to come back to check if you understood what it is we're talking about. Because we're going to try and talk about it at this level, but just make sure we're using language that can bring you in as well. So at least when you're getting off this call, it can all make some sense. And for any new people on here, I do sometimes not pick on, but voluntold people to give explanations of things. So it's not just me and Richard talking about stuff, because the best way to learn is to teach. So if someone else can explain to someone else what something is, then we all grow from that. So Paul hit the nail on the head earlier. And I know it's something I've talked about privately with Justin before now, which is all of the crazy noise and the crazy percentages that you see within crypto, earning everything from 3% a year to obscene numbers in the tens of thousands of percent per year. All of that is different forms of passive income strategies. There's two ways that you can earn from any asset, and property is the easiest way to think about it. I buy a property for this price, it raises in value, I sell it for this price, I get the difference. Or I can buy the property, it can still raise in value, but for that duration, I rent the property out, which means every single month I earn income from it. So two completely different ways to earn from the same asset there. One is appreciation, and one is through an income strategy of some description. I think it's unfair, anyone that's been in wealth creation for a long time, to say passive income is one of these words that's thrown around. Nothing is passive. Everything takes work. Even if all I have to do is move this to there and earn 20%, the amount of time it took me to find that, verify that, do the due diligence on that, and check it's still safe in 3, 6, 9 months, it's not passive. It's just easier than some other strategy that's out there. So for Maria and for Anna, it's a whole conversation to decide what coins to buy. And then it's a whole nother conversation to say, hey, I've got these coins, these tokens. What can I do with them to make them work, to earn me money, like renting out the house? So our good friend Richard has made a really simple and clean document that we're going to work through today. Don't really want to share my screen. I'll share it for now so you can see it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it and I'm going to put it in the Telegram group so that we don't have it shared all the time. So give me 1 second. Yeah, share it in there for now. Okay, cool. So what we've got here, we have got a total of 10 different ways that you can look at from earning passive income strategies, different ways that we can make the crypto work for ourselves, whilst at the same time not having to do too much. Everything, there's different ways that you can look at every strategy. We've looked at it from a risk perspective, difficulty, reward, and fees. These are the things that you might first want to think about. We bring KYC in there, which is know your customer. We'll come on to in a minute. We've got some examples, and then everyone can have access to this sheet afterwards. It's not a problem. So we're going to stop this share. So 13:41. Okay, so we've got about an hour to do 10. Cool. So we're going to begin at the top here. We've got sex lending and DEX lending. We talked about CEXs and DEXs last week. Anyone care to give a 1-minute summary on what they think the difference is between a sex? In fact, anybody thinks they know what the difference is between a CEX and a DEX? No takers? Okay, so one's centralized and one is decentralized. A centralized exchange would be something like Binance. Binance calls the shots. Binance makes a decision, it impacts every single one of those customers. Coinbase, crypto.com, think of these as like companies that build a product and they deliver everything on that product. That's a centralized exchange. And the whole of finance is centralized. We have centralized government, centralized education, all of these things. A decentralized exchange creates a platform, but doesn't hold anything in it. So Uniswap would be a really good example. Uniswap's still a thing. Obviously, someone's made Uniswap, but you don't move your tokens onto it and hold them in it. You connect an external wallet to Uniswap, you carry out a transaction, then you disconnect. It's like a, what could it be like? I know you would never keep your car at a car wash, but your car goes to a car wash, goes through the car wash and comes out. Whereas if you were to take your car to a car park, it stays there. So it's this thing about also like with a centralized exchange, you have a login. You go in with a username and a password. And if you forget who you are, you click forgot password. That means somewhere there's a database holding your information. With a decentralized exchange, they haven't got a clue who you are. There is no identity. So if we just do these at a time, just so it's nice and clean. So when we're looking at these first two here, centralized and decentralized, we can see that there's KYC, which is know your customer on SEX, and there isn't any on DEX. Know your customer means you provided your passport, your proof of address, maybe your national insurance or your tax ID, something like that. And as I said in that long post to Martin in the group, people care about that for different reasons. There'll be people on this call who just don't care. Fine, you can provide your details, but always understand why you're providing them and what that might mean. I'm quite curious from that perspective within crypto. I don't feel that it's up to anyone's jurisdiction to understand what I do with my crypto. So I try and avoid personally KYC. The differences between these two is, one of the big differences is on DEX, if we look at risk, which is probably split, you keep your keys. That means that you aren't handing over your coins to someone else's custody. If I put all my money into an exchange and that exchange goes down, then I will potentially lose those coins. I'll lose them. That's why it's not your keys, not your crypto. By the same token, within centralized lending, there's usually better rates of return, I would say. So this is the easiest form of lending that's out there. We can see the difficulty here for centralized lending is really easy. You dump your coins in there, you click a few buttons. Well, some you don't even click a few buttons and you're earning. That's it. Decentralized lending takes a little bit more complexity. Richard, I'm curious, because you've put the risk the same on both of these, how would you define the risk difference between centralized and decentralized?
It's a toss-up. I mean, you could, there's different complexities in terms of the risk profile, I guess. But I think with centralized lending, in theory, you are safer, but it's that age-old thing of, you're open to their counterparty risk in terms of how much can you trust the platform, how long has it been around, all those sort of things, and how they manage their risks, which you might know some about. They will tell you this is how we collateralize the lending on the platform in order to give you the return, but you don't know because it's they're not going to tell you everything. In terms of decentralized lending, lending. The risk is usually on some of these platforms, particularly the newer ones. They can be open to hacks. and you are in charge, and counter to the centralized lending, you're in control of your keys, so you are open to hacks as well, basically. So, you know, maybe you could say centralized lending is a little, it could be green in that case, in case, you know, it could be less risk, but you're not in control of it. So that's why I've given it that rating, basically. So from a sovereign point of view, you know, we would prefer decentralized lending, but it's up to you in terms of difficulty and where you sit within that, really, in terms of your preference, basically, and your own security as well.
Cool. And so let's just put to the right here. Let's put example sites, platforms, and let's have some example AP. Well, I'll put APR and I'm going to put APY. Anyone know the difference between APR and APY? I'm going to stress on Paul here because I feel like Paul A might know the difference between APR and APY. But it's okay if you don't. I didn't until I really got into crypto.
I have absolutely no idea.
Okay, so it's one of these words that gets thrown around. APR, annual percentage return. APY, annual percentage yield. And at first I was like, well, like, how are they different? And the difference is all down to compounding. So compounding, for those that don't know, is the earning interest on your interest. So I invest a grand. I get paid £100 a year or a day, let's say. The question is, does the £100 get paid out to a separate pot? And I've still got the £100 gets set to a separate pot, and I've still got £1,000. Or does the £100 go back into the grand? I've now got 1,100. Next time I'm going to get paid out £110. So you're incrementally earning more and more and more. That's compounding. So APR is how much you get paid per day, per month, whatever your rate is. APY is retrospectively over the course of a year, where you take into account compounding, what's the effective rate that you got. So you might get 10% APR paid daily, which actually relates to something like 13% 13% APY, because it takes into account the interest. It doesn't matter if that hasn't dropped for everybody. It's a weird one if you've never played with it. Paul, does that kind of make a bit of sense? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, cool. So like once you start working with returns, you'll see it's just you. The reason I say it is because APY is sexier because it's bigger. You know, 26% APY. But but it works on a yearly figure, annual percentage yield. And the reason it stumps people is, I know people that go into platforms for 1 month thinking they're going to get 1/12 of 26%. But that 26% takes literally 12 months of compounding daily to get to 26%. The APR on a monthly might only be something like 18. So it's just, they throw these figures around. So just pay attention to APR and APY, just to know the difference. So if we look at...
Just wondering, Dan, if everyone knows what compounding is, because some people might not.
Okay. My 2-minute explanation didn't do the job. What did Einstein say about compounding? I said a lot. I appreciate I didn't add much context there.
8th wonder of the world.
He said it's the 8th wonder of the world. That is not what I expected to come up. It's also a scientific method. What? This is DuckDuckGo for you, isn't it?
Compounding interest, try that. Switch to Google.
Here we go, compound interest curve. So let me find something that's linear. Here we go, single interest. Shrink you in a little bit. There we go. So this, open a new tab. copy images with each other. So if you're paid out so much on Richard, do you want to have a go at explaining it? I've explained compound interest too many times.
You're so eloquent at it compared to me. I mean, yeah, essentially you are, as you said before, you're earning interest on your interest. And, you know, it's similar to the exponential curve in that you don't necessarily notice it within the first period of time, but over a longer period of time, if you can compound, i.e. not withdraw funds, then you will get a much bigger pot as time goes on. You can see that curve there, literally just, it gets further and further apart. So,
and there's a key point here. If you can do it without incurring tax on it, I'm not saying to avoid tax, but there are tons of systems set up. The difference between being taxed every time you earn versus taxed at the end is absolutely astronomical. So this thing here, the principal, if you put I know it's a bit flaky, but if you put $1,000 in, that's your principal amount here, and someone's going to pay you so much per day, per month, whatever, then you're just going to go up with a straight line. That's how much you're going to get paid out over the course of time. But if every time they pay you, they then give you a return on top of that, obviously how much your principal amount keeps going up and up and up, and you're actually getting paid out on this line here, which means you're earning more and more and more and more and more until it looks like a hockey puck, usually like that. And nothing happens in compound interest for a while. And there's a game you can play where if you bet 50 cents or 50p on golf, by the time you're at the 18th hole, it's something like $250,000 or $500,000. Same again with chess. The story goes, the guy who created chess for the Emperor of China wanted a grain of rice for every square on the chessboard, doubled each time. 1 grain, 2 grain, 3 grain, and they call it the second half of the chessboard. Second half of the chessboard. See if we actually get a decent picture here. There we go. And what happens is, it's the same with Moore's law, 1 grain, 2, 4, 8, going up and up and up. And basically, by the time you get to the second half of the chessboard, the amount of rice required is astronomical, and the emperor's, I don't know, economist came back and said, we've run out of rice. And that's when the emperor went and chopped off his head, because he realized he'd been tricked. So doubling, especially from a compounding perspective, is just astronomical. So compounding is one of the easiest ways to create wealth. They say that rich people buy assets, wealthy people understand compound interest. So I don't want to labor on that too much more, but it is really important, is compound interest. And so to go back to here to sex lending and dex lending, you can get returns quite comfortably, I would say, from 3% on a sex platform to 15%. What do you reckon?
Probably higher than that in some cases, but it depends. It moves around, doesn't it? But yeah, I've actually got a link to. I'll share.
Are we including, Anchor protocol? Are we including that in terms of, or are you thinking of that in staking? You're locking it up. No, you're not. Anchor protocol lends. It's a lending site. Yeah. 20%. So some of the risks to think about when you're thinking about lending really comes back to, if we look at why the risk is on DEX, I've put here rug pullable. What I mean by rug pullable, there's a term in crypto saying you've had the rug pulled. If you think about it as an expression, you've had the rug pulled out from underneath of you. You don't want that. There we go. So in crypto, people can create these platforms let's say I say to a handful of you guys, right, guys, I'm going to give you 15% return. Here's my address. Send all your crypto to it, and it's all locked up. And I lend it out, and I do stuff with it. I'll give you 15%. Literally, in the space of a day, sometimes you can have hundreds of millions of dollars in here, and then the next day it's gone. That is a very classic rug pull, and some of them have got very, very clever and have taken billions of dollars, and it's gone. Nothing you can do about it. So when you're looking at these systems and these sites, really think about caliber, think about quality, think about trust. Who owns it? How long's it been there for? Who recommended it to me? How long have they been using it for? Dead simple due diligence, which might come easy to you if you've been investing in companies and you're a little bit more cautious. But if your best friend says, oh, you've got to get on this platform, it's called, God knows, whatever, Mirror Trade International, or I shouldn't be bringing that one up yet. Whatever it's called, doesn't matter. But them being excited about you joining it because they're on it, just be a bit more cautious, because in crypto there's no back door, there's no fallback. You can't, if those coins go, they're gone. This is one of the key components of sovereign money and sovereign finances. It's yours. It's like owning gold. You have to look after that piece of gold, because if it's gone, it's gone. You can get insurance and things these days, crypto insurance, but just really understanding that. Did you say you had a chart for earning interest?
Yeah, I've shared it in the chat. It's it says DeFi rate, but there are centralized ones on there as well.
Which chat?
I put it in the Telegram chat and in the Zoom chat.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've got it. Oh, this is nice. Yeah, so we're looking at there. Celsius comes up a lot, by the way. So the boxes are the highest returns. Celsius compounds daily, pays out weekly, and you can see that it's that one of the highest for most coins. And to earn on Celsius, you'll need to do your KYC, because Celsius is a centralized exchange and it wants to know who you are. Me and Richard have been using Celsius for a long time. I like it. I think it's really, really good. So that's my go-to space for things. And if you're not interested in, I'm also going to put Anchor in there as an example.
Can I ask
Last
a question?
Sure.
On Celsius, are you able to transfer money in, or do you have to transfer crypto in and then from another platform?
Really good question. So when you say money, you mean fiat, yeah?
Yeah, like pounds, GBP.
Yeah, cool. So in order for any crypto entity, company, to use fiat, they have to be regulated. And to be regulated, obviously, to go and work with the traditional finance world means more audits, more checks, all of these things. So crypto companies make a distinction, and they say, I either deal with fiat or I don't. Celsius does not. Celsius is completely crypto only. People like Binance and Crypto.com and Coinbase, they will allow some holding of pounds, dollars, Aussie dollar, things like that, and they might even allow you to charge and buy crypto with the cards and things like that. And they've chosen to go down a different route. So Celsius is completely crypto only. There is a button to buy on there.
I'd have to buy it from Coinbase and then transfer it over to Celsius that way.
Yeah, you will.
Right. Okay.
And it's just worth knowing one thing, guys, as well, that you can stake, you can do this with crypto coins, and you can also do it with stable coins. So stable coins are the ones that are pegged 1-to-1. So if you're sat on 50K in dollars or something like that, and you don't really want to put it into Bitcoin or something that's volatile, but you say, hey, well, I've got this money, then you might want to take some of that and you can invest it on things that are going to earn you interest on stable, so that you can put 10 grand in, earn 10 to 20% on it, and at the end of 1 day, 1 month, 1 year, take it out. There's no lock-in period. So if you need access to that 10 grand, it's still worth 10 grand. So I create that distinction because sometimes people think if you're in crypto, you're susceptible to the volatility of it. And someone once said, well, why would I do that? And I think it was on one of the other calls actually. And it literally is because if you're trying to find something that's, if you're sat on large sums of money or whatever a sum of money is to you and you deem it to be large, then what you're really looking for is trust. And most people trust a bank, even though there are no interest on it. They trust that it'll still be there. I put 10 grand in, it'll still be there. But when you start factoring in deflation, inflation, what's going on with the markets every year, the amount of money, the amount of purchasing power that's worth is changing. So you can move your funds into some of these platforms, and you can insure them against hacks. You can insure them against rug pulls. You can insure them against depreciation of a stable coin. So if a stable coin, if one tether is worth $1, and all of a sudden something happens with tether and it's worth 70 cents, the insurance will cover the difference. So they'll pay out and you'll still be worth $1. So you can all of a sudden find more trust within crypto now. And these are companies like Bridge Mutual, who are a large insurance firm, offering insurance on crypto on certain platforms, earning interest. So it's just something else to just consider as well. And that specifically is what
I just mentioned quickly, sorry Daniel, just for anyone who's kind of new on here and based in the UK, I tried to set up a Celsius account and they're not currently taking on any new applications from people in the UK, just for anyone who's new and kind of wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that as well. I keep forgetting about that. If you're, unfortunately, it is one of the biggest ones. And this just comes down to simplicity. Crypto is a proof of work system by definition, meaning the more work you're willing to put into it, the more you'll get out. But the more work you put in, the more complex it becomes. And it's important that crypto never gets more complex than your ability to manage it. So you can have all these different levels, like how much will I get paid out, and what's the risk, and what's the potential future return, all of these different variables. But your technical ability to understand what it is you're creating is the most important factor, because the biggest threat in crypto is you forgetting a password, forgetting a two-factor authentication, you passing away unexpectedly. You're probably the most crypto person in your family, which means if you passed away tomorrow, what happens? Like, you know, it's a serious question. I know when I sat down and I spoke with my partner about it, and we did whatever we needed to do, one of my questions was, you know, what's the first thing that you do? And her response was, I'd call Richard. Now, in that instance, she's got answers to things, but she also knows that she can trust him to help work through what I think is clear. But it's good to think about these things, because a guy died 2 weeks ago. What did he have? 187,000 Bitcoin. He owned 3% of the supply, which is a lot. And he died in a boating accident, which, like, I'm full love and support to anyone that passes. But it just created this stir in the crypto space of no one knows if all of a sudden those coins have gone to someone else or if they've disappeared forever. And it really brings up these questions about what's it called when you're like estate planning sort of thing. So just ponder all these things. So why do I say all this? There is a point. Celsius is the simplest. One platform, look at how many coins it does. But to Louise's frustration, she can't get on there now. Okay, so then what's next? Next up probably is Aave. But then if she goes to Aave, she's going to get, in this instance, 2% on USDC. Let's say that she wanted that. She'd have got 8% over here. But then she might say, okay, well, USDC is a stable coin. So I like the fact that it's stable. So I'm going to use Fulcrum. And she checks it and she's happy with it to get a higher return. Now she's using two sites, which means the level of complexity just went up, which means that her level of technical ability to manage that complexity needs to be greater than the complexity. I hope that makes sense for people. So you can use all sorts of different sites, but just be aware of what it takes. Okay, go on, let us crack on. So staking. How would you, do you want to run through how you think staking is different, Richard, compared to lending? People often throw these words around and they feel similar, but they're very different.
I think people often, because crypto.com in particular will use the term staking a lot of the time. And in theory, you're not really staking, you're just depositing it on the platform and earning whatever token that they're pushing at that point. I mean, staking, I put the comment in there and I'll read that. It says, earn by staking in proof of stake protocols. You get rewarded for helping to maintain the decentralized consensus and security for blockchains to function. So basically, the coins that you own allow, say, I don't know, choose Cardano, for example, to operate. And the more that you've got, the more kind of share you've got in the say in how that's worked. So it's kind of democratizing in a way the the operation of it. There are arguments in terms of staking, proof of stake, who someone could actually just earn more and more. The more they control and the more dominance, or they can say manipulate the market. But there are protocols within those to sort of try and prevent that. But what you're essentially doing is earning by allowing the blockchain to operate. And I think if we use Paul as an example, said he's bought some coins and he's these are the ones that he's invested in, and I think that's the difference potentially. A lot of the time you will be, you might be extremely bullish in Ethereum or Cardano, and you're not really wanting to sell until it reaches a certain point. You really believe in that platform, then you would, it's kind of like a validation in itself for you to offer up your coins to help that platform work. So you will be holding on for dear life in those. You'd be holding those coins for long term as an investment, and playing your part in validating the network to make it work. But there are two ways you can do it as well. You can try and go and do that yourself, like a sort of solo stake, or a lot of the bigger coins will have stake pools or delegated stake pools where there'll be an allocation of so many coins, and you can go and join that for a fixed return, but you are locking your coins up for a longer period in that time. That's my summary of staking. I hope that's clear.
That's the big thing. If you think about it, like making a stake for something, in the sense of like planting your placard to say what you believe in. Staking usually has a lock-in period, and in exchange for that lock-in period, you'll get a better interest rate, but they're locked up. So you usually only stake coin that you believe in because you're making your stance about that. It's not quite as fluid as lending and things like that. So as an example, right now, if you stake ETH, you'll get over 20%, but that is that's a 2-year lock-in, and the interest return and the year hasn't even been, nobody knows. People are staking their ETH because they're basically casting their vote to say, I am long-term on this project. And then that sends a signal to the market. So people want people to stake their coins because it's good for business. And so in return for that, you get a return. So, but just understand that people do throw around this word staking. So again, when you're looking at lending and staking, one of your key things you're looking at is, can I get the money out? Which is a very important question, especially as we move further down this list. Any questions on staking before we go any further? Not good? Okay. I'll just move that. Cool. Oh, I found your chat now. Cool. It's definitely quite a group than usual, isn't it? Is that because we're talking about serious stuff? All right, trading. I mean, trading is obviously the least passive of all of them, so to speak. It's worth putting it in there. We don't promote people to trade because the stats show that over 94-ish% of people that trade lose money. So it's just, it sounds sexy. Everyone I speak to the trade, it's not. It's very, I don't want to say boring because it's exciting for that person, but it's not as glamorous as people think it is, and it's hard. It's a lot harder anyway. But trading is in there as a strategy, and I suppose it can be more passive. But I think where it starts to become more passive is bot trading, and I'm also going to put in here mirror trading and copy trading. So bot trading, mirror trading, and copy trading are systems that do it for you, and these bots is massive right now. So the bots have been used in traditional finance for a long time now because they can buy and sell quicker than humans can click buttons. So sometimes bots are literally like, you see charts are just doing this all the time, obviously big swings as well, but there's bots that just what they call scalping, and they're just making money on these tiny little micro movements, but they're trading every single second, in and out, in and out, in and out, constantly analyzing it. So like anything in technology, give it a couple of years, the technology reaches the masses. So you can code your own bots. There's people that have coded them and made a user interface, and you just kind of drag and drop the parameters that you want. Then there's people that have done that themselves, put it into a platform, and you just log into the platform. And then there's people that do it all themselves, just say, give us your money, we'll trade it, and we'll just give you a fixed return. So there's a whole varying degree of the ways one can use bots. And on these same sites, and one example is 3 commas, Zort is done for you. 3 commas and Shrimpy is bot trades. So Shrimpy in particular, it can do copy trading. So you pay a little bit more, you might pay $100 a month, and Shrimpy will connect to eToro. So you need an eToro account. eToro is a really big trading platform, and it finds other people on the platform that are trading, that you'll see their username, and then you can just click copy, and it will trade the exact same trades they make, regardless of wins, losses, or anything. The downside of this, people are aware of that. So some people will know that the minute they place a trade, 1,000 other people are going to suddenly come in. I've got a friend who was doing particularly well on DEX platforms, decentralized, but there's tools that can watch wallets. And so he got picked up by a bot that had become aware that a particular wallet address was doing really, really well. They were then selling that information on these sites where you can copy trades. And every time he placed a trade, he noticed that the charts went bonkers. And he's a real big charts man. And it took him ages to work out why. Every single time he placed a trade, it went the opposite of whatever happened. And he was losing and losing and losing. And he realized that he was being copied. And as soon as he placed a trade, $10 million more came in and placed the same trade, which would obviously massively swing the chart. So he had to completely open up new wallets, move his money, completely wash his money so there's no trace between the two, and carry on. So I share that because if you knew you were also being copy traded, the risk side of this for you is that you could copy somebody, but actually what they're doing is they know that the chart's going to do something afterwards, and they're actually placing a totally different trade. So it's not quite as sexy and as easy as, oh, well, I'll just click a button and copy somebody. But copy trading is really big. Bot trading is really big. Zort is a platform that trades it for you. Your money, why is it safe? Where are the coins held? So remember, not your keys, not your coins. Some of the ones further down here that really becomes very big. Where are the coins held? If they're held in your own account, in this instance for Zort, they're held in Coinbase, and Zort has a connection to Coinbase, and all Zort can do is buy and sell. And all it buys and sells is Ethereum and Bitcoin, which means nobody can rug pull you. Nobody can run away. Your money's not tied up. At any point, you can stop it. So there's a lot of safety. Your actual safety is, do I trust Coinbase? Because Zort doesn't have any capability to do anything with it. So there's certain questions to think about when you're looking at bot trading. And one of them is, where's the money? How's the money safe? And if someone else has programmed a bot, how much do I trust them, and what is it they're trading? Are they trading random altcoins that are worth 0.00001 cents, heavy risk, or are they trading only Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cardano, you know, big tokens that have been here for a long time? So there's some of the risks to think about when you're looking at bot trading. Difficulty, it is a little bit more difficult. Go on.
I was just going to say, because I've had a look at it, but I'm not used it myself. How far have you got with Zort yourself?
I've been using it now for
play with it.
Yeah, a couple of months now. I love it. I absolutely love Zort. I think, I mean, we've just had it doesn't, I don't want to get too much into it. It doesn't trade. I don't have affiliate links for Zort. And I meant to say this at the beginning. We're not selling anything on here. We're just talking about all the stuff that goes through. So if you want to find it, go and search for it. But Zort does, and it's 2-3 months ago, it was earning, let's say 20% a month, something like that on trades. It's had a big break where it stopped trading because when it was in a bear market, part of its AI is to not trade a bear market. Bear means down, bull means up. So it's just started retrading again. I think the community is really strong, super fast support. I mean, in the Telegram group, if you've got a question, it's answered in seconds. And I really like that. These are the things that I like to see. And I trust them. And I think they're going to do really, really well. So I'm very big on Zort, and I've just started looking at Shrimpy. Well, I'm trialing Shrimpy in 3 commas. To do a particular style of trading I'm interested in looking at. So this is a really cool one, spot trading, but there's just a lot out there. So when you're looking at stuff, start with the big boys. 3 commas, Shrimpy, and Zort are the 3 big name. Well, 3 commas and Shrimpy are big bot names. Zort's fairly new, but I'm okay with that. I've looked at a few platforms, and for me, it's working, so I'm cool with it for now. Any questions on bot trading? And I'd say you can comfortably get. I'm actually going to
actually execute the trades on your behalf.
Yeah, fully. So you don't do anything. This is totally hands off. It's 2 to 5% a week. I would say is let's just say 1 to 5% a week. A week. So you can work that out times 52. But if you're trading a bot, if you're creating a bot yourself, there's a lot of parameters. You can make a lot of money with it, but it's if you're going to make the bot yourself, even using one of these drag and drop things. I had a trading bot 4 years ago when I got into crypto, and I lost all of my money because I didn't tick a box called sliding take profit, which meant as it went up, I was meant to take the profit, and a trailing stop loss, which meant as the price keeps going up, my sell goes up with it, so that if the price drops, it sells. What was happening was my sell order was here, the price would go up, I'd make loads of money, but I haven't sold. Then the price would come back down, and then it would sell here. So I basically lost every trade. Because of a tick box. So just understand that there are some huge things you can do within bots, but go slowly and go steady. And remember, if it's shiny, just step back a little bit. Doesn't mean it's not good, but shiny can obscure our judgment. We've all been swept away with excitement, whether it's in money, romance, cars, whatever it is you're into. Like it clouds our judgment from times.
I think it's also about recognizing what kind of person you are as well, how excited you get about stuff, how technical you are, how bored you'll get with it quickly, because it's an easy way to lose your shirt very, very quickly. So you have to just have that self-awareness, I think.
It's okay, I might be. I'll just turn my screen down, Christina. I've not got much power, guys, and but we'll just keep going. I'll see if I can find some power. So liquidity mining and yield farming and mining. Liquidity mining and yield farming. Oh, these are such big, these are huge topics, aren't they?
It's very, very complex, I think, particularly for people that are sort of at this sort of.
I'm gonna explain it like this. Yield farming. I use the farmers market analogy. Yield farming is going into a farmer's market with some £10 and buying 10 apples. And you take the 10 apples to the next stall, and the next stall says, hey, if you give me 10 apples and hold them here, I'll give you 5 bananas. Cool. You get the 5 bananas, you go to the next stall, and he says, oh, I need bananas. If you give me 5 bananas, I'll keep giving you some aubergines. You take the aubergines, you take them to the next stall, all the way around until you're farming different tokens. You started with the same amount of money, but each of them pays out in apples, and you pay the apples to the next person who pays out in tomatoes. But instead of them being vegetables, they're tokens or whatever you want. They're ETH, Bitcoin, Ethereum, wraps, this, and actually some of them are foods, but that's by the by. It's because food memes seem to have stuck. So farming is this structure of taking one, feeds into the next, feeds into the next, feeds into the next. Much more complex, super risky, because if one of them collapses, the whole chain collapses. But the reward you can get, I don't even want to write it on here, but I will do. I'll put 10. Let's just put 100. No. 10,000. It's way more than that. I mean, do 100. 100,000%. That's a lot. And you can even get as high as 100,000% on this one. It's really risky. A lot can happen. I won't go into it here, but if you're interested in liquidity farming and yield farming, the first thing you do is understand the risks, because the rewards are easy. Yeah, and if you think you're up to it from a difficulty perspective, then totally cool. I'm going to throw one word in here called is it CalPAR?
Hello.
Or is it Calmar? This is it, Calmar. So Calmar is the first thing I've seen that looks to do it all automated. I am interested in it, and if it is as good as it says it is, then it could simplify this whole thing and take a lot of the risk out. But people chase these because they're looking for, I mean, who doesn't want 100,000% return reward? You'd be silly not to, right? So Paul's asking, does anyone use Cake DeFi for liquidity mining? Some pretty tasty, yeah. No doubt. Just move this, I press the wrong button. Cake DeFi 7.5. See, it says APY. So just to pay attention to see it. So I mean, people see this 101%. So it's understanding, like this one wants 2 tokens locked up. Just understand that the risk here, there's different risks. There's something called impermanent loss, especially here. Impermanent loss, which is where you lock up 2 tokens, token A and token B. You do 50% of each. And they need to be worth the same amount. So if one of those suddenly goes up or goes down, then you no longer have 50% probability of each. You've got 25 and 75. And if it goes all the way down to zero, you get a permanent loss, you lose the whole thing. So it's just understanding that if you're interested in these two, please look at the risks first before you get too excited with the rest. 16%. Was there any power? No power? Okay. Okay, so I got 16% to see this through, guys. Mining is mining. Uno más, por favor. Mining is mining crypto. There's some really cool new coins, tokens coming out with what you can do with mining. It usually requires physical hardware. You can pay other people to do it. What sort of APIs do you think you're going to get on mining, Richard?
Totally is going to depend on the actual coin.
Yeah.
You know, anything from a few $100 a month to yeah, upward from there, basically. But there are some interesting ones. If you have a quick look at what that Planet Watch might be quite interesting for people to have a quick look at. I'll put a link in. Basically, it's like a little wearable thing or a thing you can put in your house that's monitoring the air quality, and as a reward for giving that data, they will reward you in these Planet tokens. I think Elon Musk said in the future he would allow people to buy a Tesla in Planet tokens.
Nice. So there's actually quite a lot in terms of these mining ones that are like at-home mining rigs. You don't need to buy these big Bitcoin things that cost like £2,000, $2,000 and take up loads of energy. Like there's tons to do with IoT and low-fi waves and all sorts of things. Whether that's your boat from a values perspective is another question. It's this one. But that's they're all trying devices, to... Yeah. Oh, you wear it? Oh, it's wearable, yeah, you said. It's cool. So there's just lots of ways that you can earn. There was one that was going around for a while called Pi, P-I. They said it was made by these Harvard professors, which it wasn't. And basically it was a massive data grabbing exercise. And it was all based on referrals. There's nothing wrong with referrals as a form of marketing. It's called network marketing. And some hugely successful companies that have been going for decades rely on it. Avon is one that comes to mind, Betterware. I'm sure there's different brands over in America, although I'm sure Betterware's over there. So there's nothing wrong with network marketing. But within crypto, it can just get a bit crazy sometimes. So when people are saying, oh, I think you should sign up for this, and they send you a link, and you see at the end of the link, it's got like their thing on the end of it, just ask them like, are you earning from this? Why do you want me to sign up? And it's just transparency. And we've got Ben on this call. Ben helped me get into a system that I love. And one of the things I really loved about it was that he's super transparent. And there's nothing hidden. There's no hidden agenda. It's like, this works for me. This has been really good for me and my life and my network, and I'll share it with you. And that's really, when you can come from that space, I think that has a very different energy from, I need you to sign up because I earn from you, which is some of the darker, more cloudier side of network marketing. So it's a lot of these mining things have that built into it. There's nothing wrong with it, but I want you to be aware of it, because it's the awareness that's the difference between an empowered choice to do something for the right reasons and a pressured choice to do something for the wrong reasons. Which brings us perfectly into HIIP, high interest yield programs or protocols or something like that. As Richard's put here, anything that promises up to 1% ROI per day with MLM, which stands for multi-level marketing, or tier referrals, Ponzi scheme-esque. So it's good to understand, does anybody, I've got to keep my screen low. Anyone care to summarize what they think a Ponzi scheme is in like less than 20 words?
where the returns are generated from new money coming into the investment scheme.
Perfect. Fresh blood keeps the whole thing going. And Ponzi schemes can look good, and no one can ever really know if something is a Ponzi scheme until the Ponzi scheme collapses. Because so long as there's people bringing in new money, that pays out the people that are expecting a return, who go out and tell people it works, who brings in new money, that pays out the other people that came in last time. And the cycle keeps going so long as there's enough money to feed the system. And I've wrestled with this for a long time on some of these systems. Fundamentally, at the end of the day, in my opinion, you don't know. There's very little proof one can have, because it's down to the motives and the intention of the person that owns the company. And Mirror Trading International is a big one for that. They were paying out 5% a week, and everyone was talking about it, and it had the classic signs of something that's not a bit fishy. But the guy, I was in groups where people talked about this for years. I know him, he's so honorable, all of the things that these people genuinely believe that. And apparently he was a really, really charming person. And then the money started to dry up, and there were some issues, and then all of a sudden the police were involved, and then all of a sudden he disappeared. And so did 23 million, billion, wow, however much money went. A lot of money, a lot of anger, a lot of families upset, and nobody saw it coming. So and I actually nearly invested in that company. I was watching it for ages on that pretense. I thought, well, I'll watch it for a couple of years and I'll see how it goes. So there's I mean, these are the recent failures: MTI, Finalmente, Finoco, Bureau. I'm going to put Torque in there as well. Richard, do we need to labor any more on?
I think it's the old adage: if it's too good to be true, it usually is. The only thing I'd say is there's, from a purely, taking ethics out of it and what you believe or don't believe, any of these things, there is a ton of money to be made about them. The main thing is work out how quickly you can get your cash out.
Yeah.
And go in there assuming that it's going to fail. So you risk only what you're prepared to risk. Anyone that's sort of offering around about up to in the area of 1% a day, they're the ones to kind of just do some due diligence on, or go the extra mile, basically. And usually anything that's got the multi-level marketing, as Daniel said, on it. So it's about how quickly you can get your cash out, and how old is the scheme usually. If it's relatively new, then you probably will be able to get your cash out and make some decent rewards. It's up to you then. But the way they incentivize you is to use that referral scheme so that the cash keeps coming in. So it's just how you feel about that side of it at the same time, I'd say. But yeah, so go in as quickly as you can and get out as quickly as you can.
I'm on 8%, just so people know. So in terms of, let's see if I can close a couple of things down. So in terms of, for myself, this year I got into 3 systems: Hyperfund, CashFX, and Daisy. After a long debate with myself on a lot of things, I got in with a sum of money that is enough for me to see it work. But at the same time, I do accept fully that if that money goes, like it's gone, like it's not play money. But if the way I say it to people is, if you lost it, do you have to sell your house to live? How life-threatening is that money? And this is the real thing. If you're going to start to play with any of these, especially the ones as we get into red, don't be taking out a loan and putting it into these systems. I would never take out a loan to try and do an investment, really, unless you know what you're doing with debt management. My end result is, the more I've looked into it, the more trusting I've become of these 2 companies. I will probably say I'm more trusting of CashFX, but only because I'm in Panama at the minute. And I'm hopefully actually going to go to their offices this week and meet human beings. There appear to be a bit more front-facing and all singing, whereas Hyperfund is based in China and Laos. There's a bit more smoke and mirrors around it. But I still I'm still okay with it. I still talk to people about it, but I'm very selective over who I do that with because I can't prove anything. Daisy, I got into same sort of thing, a bit of a punt, if I'm honest, but I now think it's a scam for one reason, and that is because it is like 2000% referral marketing. I mean, they put so much effort into making people sign up that causes me to go, it doesn't feel right, and that's a gut feeling. And I could have a financial advisor here that says they're all dodgy as sin, and I could have someone over here saying, I've got into 1,000 of them and these ones are still paying out and they're brilliant. All these views are right. Just understand the risks that come along with it. Because Rich is right, the returns you sort of getting here is, anywhere from 70 to 300% a year, roughly speaking. Depends on what you do, depends on how long you leave it in for, all of these things. But the big question is that you must ask is, how long till I can get my capital out? That is the big question. Because if you've got to wait, 2 years, that's a long time to find out if it works or not. With hyperfund and cash effects, it's about 7 months, roughly, to kind of get most of your capital out. And then after that, you can relax. It's like being at a casino and doubling your money. You could put half of it in your pocket and you can be much more relaxed with the rest of it. Anything somebody wanted to add then? Did I cut someone up?
I was just going to say, I mean, that along with something like Celsius, these are the easiest ways to make money. And that's why these type of things are so appealing to people, is they are that easy. You just deposit your money in, watch it compound and sit on massive gains, basically. But
yeah, and it can literally, you get in at the right time with some of these things, you can do very, very, very well with it. And if you know a lot of people, you can do even better with it. We're bringing in ethics here, bringing in values, all of these sorts of things. Like I said, we choose not to talk about these things too much in the group just because I can't vet them to a certain point, but it's good to now at least bring them up and you can ponder them and look at them and look around. So I'm on 5%. Borrowing for cash flow, is this like borrowing against assets?
Yeah.
Cool. Do you want to explain that a little bit?
If you click on there's a tab there that says BTC borrowing, and next to it, click on that. On the bottom.
Where's that?
There's another tab at the bottom of that spreadsheet, BTC borrowing.
Oh yeah, I see it.
So basically, it's as you mentioned before, it's from the point of view of I can't make my thing work. Buying an asset and sitting on it as the wealthiest people do. So you're creating that kind of generational wealth. But essentially, I mean, what you're trying to look at there is holding something for long term. In this example, Bitcoin, and this chart will kind of work. So you can change the Bitcoin price, you can change the number of Bitcoin, and we'll share this sheet after. But you can kind of see it's just using an assumption there that Bitcoin is going to grow from a compounding basis 200% a year as it has done historically, and that it'll assume the price, the growth, the gain, and you can borrow on platforms like Celsius, for example, at a 25% LTV rate, which in this case will be 10 grand, and then as long as you believe in Bitcoin and it does what it has done previously, then the price of that collateral grows year on year, and you can effectively pay back that debt, take another loan out the following year, pay back the loan that you originally took out, and over time the amount you can sort of borrow every year creates that income stream for you, while the value of your collateral goes up when you haven't, in theory, actually spent any of it or got rid of any of it. So this was an example that Michael Saylor gave. I just created a spreadsheet around it, basically.
Yeah.
But it's how the richest people in the world remain the richest people in the world, basically.
And this is a form of using effective like debt finance. Like there's really strong ways you can use debt to advantage. People think debt's a dirty word, and There's a lot of debate over that, but there's good debt and there's bad debt. But it requires management, and most of us, well, unless you've had a good mentor or spent some time in it, school doesn't teach you anything, but it definitely doesn't talk us about the difference in good and bad debt and how to manage debt. So this is another way to look at things. It's a long-term view. You're effectively buying something that appreciates, take a bit of that appreciation, pay off the loan, take off a bigger loan, buy some more. Then it goes up. So you're each time you're using the asset to accrue more of the asset. So where am I on? 4%. All right, let's round it off here. There is a lot on this call. In fact, we could have half the amount of stuff and spent a lot more time going into them all, but it's a really big round robin. As far as I can see, this is, apart from some very complex ways and some nifty sites that kind of do 2 or 3 of the things in here. This is most of the ways to earn. You're either giving your money over to a platform who's doing something with it and giving you a return, or you're keeping your money yourself and putting it in something. And the amount of time it is will be locked up or not locked up, and the amount of return you're going to get will vary. What you get paid out in, some things pay out in stable coins, some things pay out in crypto, it varies massively. Oh, there we go. Cool. So I'm going to wrap it up here. We do have 3% left. I would love, I can't even see anybody, my screen's that low. So Richard, you have to unmute people. I'd love to get 1 or 2 takeaways from people. It's a very silent call, but you're all still here, which tells us something. So I'd love it if 1 or 2 of you would love to just unmute yourself and just give us anything that has been a takeaway for yourself that you're either going to look into more after this call or has helped you understand something better. Don't be shy.
Who's volunteering?
Well, 3%, 2%.
Paul's going to go. Bridgington.
Yeah, I mean, this is something I've been sort of thinking about really for quite a while. So, you know, I guess just kind of trying to be prepared, use the kind of ball run as a way of kind of getting, you know, sort of money there and understanding how I can then make it work during the quieter times. So this has been really useful, and especially kind of I had a bit of experience with the trading bot with Talk, which went a bit west, but I managed to take my money out. But, you know, just kind of starting to look at these sort of things and understand what is available and spend that time over the next 6 months or so, kind of looking at what my options are and having a plan ready for, you know, for the bear market really. So yeah, it's been really useful.
Cool. That's really important because we are going to enter a winter period soon. So it's all right. We've all got these coins, and if you're going to hold on to them through the winter, then get them doing something. But remember, keeping it equal to the effort you're going to put in. And a key thing Richard said the other day earlier is how bored do you get? Because these things do need managing. Anything from any of the new people? Do we still have Paul A with us? I can see.
We do.
We do. Paul A, I'd love to get you've been in asset generation and creation for a while. Anything for you that was a new thing?
So yeah, well, all of it was new in many ways. Yeah, really interesting. It was interesting to see the comparable rates and your comments on the different platforms. Like everything, you know, it's the beginning of a very long process, isn't it? With lots and lots of layers of due diligence and all the rest of it. Yeah, but fascinating. Like, grateful for your input. Really good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Paul just said a really good word then. Do due diligence. Like, just don't. What is the first rule of crypto? Don't FOMO in. FOMO is FOMO, fear of missing out. Don't just jump in, because there's so much to jump into that statistically it's probably crap. So due diligence does take a while, but that's why we have a community. That's why we talk and we share. We'll tidy this document up a little bit and maybe put some sites that we wouldn't recommend and would recommend, and at least then there's a bit of a broad topic. I'm on 1%. I just want to say thank you to everyone for showing up. New people, familiar faces, old faces that look really young. Thank you for Richard again, and thank you for everyone for the patience. I know we're a bit late on this call. We do truly believe that this is the greatest transference of wealth we've ever seen, and at some point we will enter a bear market. and it will have a very different emotional roller coaster than we've experienced over the last year. So it's about preparing for that and preparing for it with as much grace and ease and support as possible. So I hope this has been useful. Our next call will be in 2 weeks' time, same day. And until then, I wish you a wonderful day, evening, morning, wherever you are, and we will speak to you soon. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.